running pick and roll like nothing to Rob. And hitting a bunch of threes, that's obviously not something you're always going to expect from him, but when he does it, it's a plus. Otherwise, the things you do expect out of him, he gave you here tonight. And honestly, looking back at that Detroit game that he missed and how bad they were offensively for stretches of that one, he's starting to look like an X factor for this group, just in terms of what he gives them at that lead guard spot, because he is fully embraced just making stuff happen, making the quick decisions at the top, initiating actions, and being the point guard. And that was really the turning point of this season when he decided, I'm going to go all in on this after he came back from that injury. The Washington game, Josue, we remember exactly where we were when he came back and had that huge game, just moving the ball around. And that's who he's become as a player. It's like, how many years has he been in the league now? Since 2014, 15 now. So it's like almost year 10. He has an epiphany. This is who he is as a player. And this is the stuff you're going to expect game in and game out from him. Like, you never used to know what you were going to get out of Smart. And now he's another guy on this team that you're like, all right, he's just going to move the ball and be patient and be conservative even with his shot taking. 6 shots in a game, that used to be very surprising when we did that. Not anymore.
Well, a lot of it, I think, is just guys are finally putting their words to action. Like, they talk about trusting each other, but they didn't play like it. They didn't play like they had each other's back. They didn't play like, if I give you the ball, I may not get it back this possession, but I'm going to get it back because you're going to trust me to make that shot. It's Marcus. It goes back to what Marcus was talking about before about Tatum and Brown in the passport, the team playing better defense, and all those things. And the only to me the biggest difference is that everyone seems to be buying into what Ime and Marcus and all their leaders have been talking about. And that wasn't the case earlier on. It was just like guys were like, "Well, that sounds good, but let me try this out instead." Or, "Yeah, I'm gonna do this every now and then, but at some point, I'm going to kind of do my thing."
It was like they couldn't contain themselves, Rod. That's what it was. They would go out there just like in the moment, like, I'm gonna do this thing instead.
Yeah. Like,
you think it was intentional, Sherrod?
I think it was subconscious. I think it was that they were. I don't think it was something that they were playing. It was like premeditated or anything like that. I think it just happened. They would have great ball movement for 2 or 3 possessions, and then at some point Jaylen Brown would look and see that he's got some 6'4" guard who isn't very quick guarding him, and rather than attack him, he's like, I'm just going to shoot right over the top of him. Or Tatum would have a switch out on a slow big, and rather than swing the ball 2 or 3 times to get it back for an open 3 or open drive to the lane, he'd just try to attack and get some contact, and then immediately the hands go up. Where's the call? And so, but now there's just greater trust with them. I mean, they actually talk about trust and they play like they trust each other.
And early in the game, he did have a charge call where you're sitting there and kind of complaining a little bit and had his arms up, and then he just gets right past it. It doesn't linger with him anymore. Missed shots always bled into his defense and the other parts of his game, and Ime stressed to him early in the season. Do the other stuff, rebound, defend, pass a ton. And now Tatum, we talk about the habits that Ime's changed, whether it's Smart, Brown a little bit, as well as Tatum. Tatum drives almost every time now. He's always swinging the ball out to the perimeter. He's repositioning himself to get the ball back again. And honestly, at this point, I trust as a lead creator as I do Smart. He is doing so much stuff from that position so consistently. A couple of turnovers early in this one. He comes out, plays a clean second quarter. And the rest of the night, it's almost like he's effortless, just swinging the ball to everybody. It's amazing the growth that Ime's gotten out of this group in a short amount of time. There's a lot of Coach of the Year candidates. He's got to be up with just about everybody. I'd say like Jason Kidd, Monty Williams, Spoelstra's always going to be there. But he's right up there, I'd say, in the top 5, 6 with just about anybody, just based off what he's gotten out of these guys and the way that he's kind of transformed their games.
Is this the best you've ever seen Marcus Smart play? Jimmy, what do you think?
Honestly, in this role,
I think it might be.
In this role, definitely. I think there were points where, let's be honest, Marcus Smart became a fan favorite for a reason. So it's not like he just started playing solid basketball. I mean, the energy and the effort points have always been there. And, some of his flashy passing and his obvious, top of the league on the defensive side of things. Not so much last year, but previous seasons. So I think this is definitely one of the best stretches we've seen of Marcus Smart. Is probably how I would put it. And it's just the way he's doing a little bit. He's given the game what it needs, which is kind of what we've been saying. That's the mark of a great point guard is not just doing whatever it is you do do well only that. It's doing what the game needs and providing, your teammates, putting them in a position to succeed out there. And I think maybe he's getting a lot more comfortable with that role than he has been in past seasons. So in that sense, I would say, yeah, it is the best we've seen him play.
Yeah, I mean, when I think about Marcus, I think about what I like to call the 5 tools of talent, and that's guys who can score, rebound, defend, pass, and make their teammates better. And I think in
Yep.
those 5 areas, Marcus is
That's
playing
5.
the best that we've seen him ever. Thanks, Jimmy, for the tabulation. I appreciate
Put
that.
it in coda.
You said it quickly.
Yeah,
It's
they're his rules, man.
Yeah,
I think he knows there's 5 of them.
Yeah.
But
Go
we've
through 'em.
seen him play better. I think we've seen in different facets of the game him play better than he has now. Like for example, he's been really good defensively, but we've seen him play better defense than what we've seen of late. And that's no knock against what he's doing now. It's just that he has played at a ridiculously high level before for stretches of time. I think back to that stretch where James Harden was in Houston, where he drew those
Yeah.
back offensive
That's
fouls.
exactly what I was thinking.
That's
Yeah.
I mean that stuff just doesn't happen every
That was
day.
wild. Yeah.
So but to Marcus's credit though, I mean he has put the full package together and has given them exactly what they need. The challenge for him going forward is making sure that he stays healthy enough to be out there. Because he's had a couple of kind of nick bumps and bruises, and the last thing they need is for him to be out for even a couple.
So that's
of games.
what worries me about this team. We're seeing them play pretty thin night in and night out. They handled that one injury against Philly. The depth at center, Tice looked good there. But then you get a second injury to Smart. You go into that Detroit game, and all of a sudden it was like, I don't know if they have the depth to sustain multiple injuries to this group. And, you say that about everybody, right? Like, if any team gets hurt, they're going to drop below where they are. But I think the Celtics especially have to be completely intact to reach their full fruition, because you just don't have guys off the bench that can step right in, save for maybe Grant. And I don't even know if White can do it yet. We haven't seen it in the one game that he had to step in there for Smart. So this group's got to stay intact. And that's the other factor we talk about here when we discuss whether this group can make the run. You got to catch breaks. So our other team's going to be fully intact here. You're going to be fully intact. I think it would be the first time ever for the Celtics to not have a big injury during the playoffs. That's the kind of stuff that's going to make or break if they're right there with everyone else, whether or not they make the finals. Is Miami going to be together? Is Milwaukee going to have their wings? I know they've been really beat up. Philly, Embiid, Harden, those are 2 guys you always look at, and it's like, are they going to be able to sustain a big run here? Boston too. You think of Rob, you think of Smart. Those are 2 guys that can always run into a little something. And luckily the Jays are usually pretty healthy, and Horford has stayed remarkably intact throughout this year.
Yeah, and honestly, Bobby, I don't worry about health because
well, the Celtics, all they do is say we're healthy.
We're
healthy now. Oh, we weren't healthy before. It's but number one thing they say.
Right. But you can't be just bracing for the moment where somebody goes down, because like you said, any team that loses one of their best players or one of their starting players, likely that's going to put them really behind in the chance to really contend for a title. There's only a few teams out there with the depth that can withstand a major injury, and the Celtics certainly are not one of them. And if it happens, that sucks. But you can't just be good in the NBA. You're right. You have to be lucky as well. You have to catch breaks. You have to play opponents at the right time. And right now, the Celtics are doing both of those things. They're healthy. They're playing opponents at the right time. And right now, they're kind of coming into a bit of a groove here. And if they can ride that momentum into the playoffs, fine by me if they play every shitty team in the league going into the playoffs. If that means that's going to build their confidence.
You'd love to be the asterisk champion.
Those wins.
Why not?
Not in the playoffs, but leading up to the playoffs. I'm saying, exactly. Yeah. Stack those wins. Get yourself a good seed. Maybe put yourself in a home court advantage like Josue wants, and you're in a position to go a few rounds. Like these guys were champion. These guys were a first round exit in my eyes. A month ago.
And maybe
2 months maybe.
That was weeks ago.
Right, Jimmy. Playing maybe. I know. I'm saying best case scenario, they were a first round exit. I mean, we were looking at the 8 through 10 seeds, wondering if they were going to have a home court in the play-in game. So things are definitely different now than they were. And I'll be honest, I think they're kind of growing up before our eyes a little bit.